Hey, my name is Ethan. I'm 31. Until 4 months ago, I was a private detective who watched other people's lives through a camera lens, until the night I stepped inside her house uninvited, and she found me standing in the dark with her file in my hands. She was 44, married, untouchable, and when she turned on that lamp and saw me there, she didn't scream. She stepped closer, close enough that I could smell jasmine and something underneath it, and said, "You're not supposed to be here." I tried to explain. She just smiled, bitter and daring, and whispered, "So arrest me? Or kiss me?" That's when I knew I wasn't watching anymore. Drop the city you're watching from in the comments, and tell me, would you have said yes? I was never supposed to meet her. That's the part I keep coming back to when I can't sleep. The job was simple. Watch a woman. Take notes, get paid, move on to the next case. But some jobs don't end when you cash the check. My name is Ethan Cole. I'm 31. I've been a private detective for 3 years, which sounds more impressive than it is. Most days I sit in my car eating gas station sandwiches while taking blurry photos of people who don't want to be photographed. Before this, I worked mall security. Before that, I dropped out of community college because my dad left and someone had to help pay bills. I'm good at watching. That's the skill, really. Sitting still. Noticing patterns. Not getting noticed back. The night before everything changed, I was parked outside some apartment complex in the suburbs. Standard cheating spouse case. The guy came home at 7:15, like always. Kissed his wife, played with his kid. I recorded it into my phone, voice low, just facts and timestamps. Subject returned home alone, no secondary contact observed. I drove back to my apartment around 9. 1 bedroom, cracked ceiling, a couch I got off Facebook Marketplace. I paid a bill online and realized I was $200 short for the month. My phone buzzed. Text from Luis, my boss. "Big client tomorrow. Be on time." I stared at the ceiling that night, phone face up on the nightstand. Tomorrow was just another case, I told myself. I was wrong. Luis met me at the office the next morning with coffee that tasted like burnt plastic and a manila folder. "Morrow file," he said, sliding it across the desk. "Real estate developer. Thinks his wife is hiding something." I opened it. The first thing I saw was her photo. Dr. Serena Morrow, 44. Black woman in a sleek dress at some charity event, smiling politely at the camera. But her eyes, there was something tired there, something lonely. "She's a psychologist," Luis said. "Well, she was. Now she runs a foundation, married 15 years, lives in Ashwood Heights." Ashwood Heights, gated community. Houses that cost more than I'd make in 10 lifetimes. "What's he think she's doing?" Luis shrugged. "He didn't say. Just wants her followed. Standard. Surveillance package. He's paying double rate." I needed double rate. An hour later, Marcus Morrow walked into our office like he owned it. Tailored suit, expensive watch, the kind of handshake that felt like a transaction. "Mr. Cole," he sat without being invited. "My wife has been distant. I need to know where she goes, who she sees." "You suspect infidelity?" "I suspect something." His jaw tightened. "Serena is very careful, very controlled, but lately she's been secretive about her schedule. Tuesdays and Thursdays especially." I took notes. He gave me access to their shared calendar, their address, her car description. "I need discretion," he said, "and I need results. Anything you find, I want to know immediately." We signed the paperwork. He left a check that would cover my rent for 2 months. That afternoon, I drove through the gates of Ashwood Heights for the first time. The neighborhood looked like a magazine. Perfect lawns, trees planted at exact intervals, houses made of glass and steel and money. The Morrow house sat at the end of a cul-de-sac. Floor-to-ceiling windows, white marble, a driveway that could fit 4 cars. I parked down the block, engine idling, and watched. An older black woman sat on a porch across the street, knitting something, but her eyes tracked everything. I made a mental note. Every neighborhood has someone like that. The unofficial watchdog. Around 6, Serena's black SUV pulled into the driveway. She sat in the car for a full minute before getting out. Just sat there, head against the steering wheel, like she was gathering strength to go inside her own house. When she finally stepped out, I zoomed in with my camera. Expensive but understated clothes. Gold bangles on her wrist that caught the light. Hair pulled back perfectly. She moved like someone who'd learned to take up exactly the right amount of space. Not too much, never too little. She grabbed a bag from the passenger seat and walked to the front door. Through the lit windows, I watched her set the table. Smooth, efficient movements. Like choreography she'd performed 1,000 times. Marcus arrived 20 minutes later, laughing into his phone before he even got out of the car. Dinner happened at opposite ends of a long table. I couldn't hear them, but I could see the space between them. The way he scrolled his phone while she ate. The way she refilled her own wine glass. Around 10, most of the lights went dark. I wrote my first report in the car, the dashboard cooling and ticking in the quiet. Subject appears to maintain normal routine. No signs of secondary contact. Marriage appears distant but stable. I uploaded it to the agency app Luis had installed and drove home. As I passed the porch, the older woman's curtains twitched. Over the next 3 days, my life shrank to the size of her street. Serena had a routine. I learned it like a song. Morning runs at 6:30, wearing a head wrap and leggings, passing the watchful woman's porch with a polite wave. Drives to her clinic downtown. Women of all ages coming and going. I realized she still saw a few therapy patients, just not many. Lunch alone on the same park bench every day. She'd sit with a glass container of food she'd packed herself, reading something on a tablet, watching families play nearby, afternoons at her foundation office, calls with donors, staff meetings. She smiled a lot in those meetings, but it never quite reached her eyes. By the 3rd day, I'd started noticing smaller things. The way she rubbed the bridge of her nose after certain phone calls, the way she twisted her wedding ring when she thought no one was looking, the way she sat on that park bench a few extra minutes, like she was postponing the drive home. That 3rd evening, she stayed on the bench longer than usual, just watching a family with 2 kids chase each other around the fountain. I sat in my car with my camera on my lap. I didn't lift it. She finally stood, glanced vaguely in my direction, though she was too far away to actually see me, and walked back to her car. I stayed in that parking lot for 10 more minutes, wondering why I hadn't taken a single photo. 2 nights later, Marcus texted me a dress code and a location. Charity Gala, downtown hotel. I showed up in a second-hand suit, feeling like a kid in his dad's clothes. The ballroom was all chandeliers and champagne. I stayed near the walls, blending in as event security, camera tucked away. Serena moved through the crowd like water, graceful, composed, smiling at donors, shaking hands, remembering names. Marcus worked the room like a politician. I watched him laugh too long with a younger woman in a red dress, his hand brushing her elbow. Serena saw it. Her mouth tightened for half a second before she smoothed it over and turned away. I followed her up a back staircase when she slipped out for air. She stood on a balcony overlooking the city, shoulders finally relaxed, breathing deep. I stayed hidden in a shadowed doorway, heart pounding in my chest. She made a phone call. Business. Something about shelter renovations and funding deadlines. Even a loan. Even tired, she was thinking about helping people. I drove home that night with my tie loose and my report half finished. I told Marcus what he wanted to hear. Subject attended gala, professional behavior observed, no concerning interactions. I didn't mention the woman in the red dress. I didn't mention how Serena looked on that balcony, finally breathing like herself. I saved the recording and whispered to my empty car, "That's not the whole story." The next day I found myself in line behind her at a cafe near her office. She ordered something complicated. Oat milk, extra shot, no foam. The barista fumbled and spilled a little near her hand. I grabbed napkins before the staff could, offered them. "Thank you," she said, taking them. Our eyes met for the first time up, close. Hers were brown, warm, tired, searching. She looked at me a beat too long, like she was trying to place my face. I smelled her perfume, jasmine and amber, the same scent I'd been catching in parking lots and office doorways for days. "No problem," I said, taking my coffee and moving to a table with a partial view of hers. I pretended to work on my laptop. She glanced over twice. I felt her awareness like heat on my skin. That night, Luis reminded me the agency app backs up everything automatically. He said it casual, but something about it stuck in my head. I wrote another thin report to Marcus. Subject maintains routine schedule. No signs of concerning behavior. I deleted a line about the cafe, about the way she'd looked at me. I told myself I was just keeping things professional. I was lying. The next afternoon, Marcus called me to his downtown office. He paced behind his desk, agitated. "She's being secretive about Thursdays. I need you to find a way inside the house. See what she's hiding." "I don't break into houses," I said carefully. "I'm not asking you to break in. I'm saying, sometimes people leave doors unlocked. Sometimes you get lucky. Mr. Morrow." "There are other investigators, Mr. Cole, ones who get results." The threat hung in the air. I left his office with tension in my chest and rent due in 5 days. That evening I sat in my usual spot, watching the Morrow house. Marcus left in his suit. Serena's car wasn't in the driveway. The older woman from across the street, Mrs. Green, I'd learned, walked over with a misdelivered envelope. I watched them chat on the front step. Warm, friendly, talking about Neighborhood Watch and strange cars that have been parking on the street. After Mrs. Green left, Serena stood on her front step for a long moment. Then she looked directly toward my car. The porch light caught her face. I couldn't tell if she could actually see me, but I felt pinned anyway. She lingered, then went inside. I gripped my steering wheel and whispered, "She sees you." The next day it rained. I parked in the clinic lot, windshield wipers swiping steadily. I'd been there over an hour when Serena came out early, umbrella in hand. She didn't walk to her car. She walked straight between the rows toward my sedan. My heart stopped. She tapped on my window. I rolled it down, rain misting my arm. "Are you going to keep pretending you're here for good parking?" she said calmly. "Or can we stop insulting each other's intelligence?" My mouth went dry. "Marcus thinks he's subtle." She smiled, but it wasn't warm. "He hired Daniels and Reeves Investigations. I looked you up, Mr. Cole." "Ethan." Hearing my name in her voice felt like a shock. "Dr. Morrow." "Get in," she said, opening the passenger door. She sat, dripping umbrella between us, and closed the door. The car felt impossibly small. "What does he think I'm doing?" she asked. "He suspects something. He didn't specify." "And what have you seen?" I hesitated. "Nothing concerning." "Then why are you still here?" I didn't have an answer. She studied my face. Up close I could see the fine lines around her eyes, the tiny scar near her temple, the realness of her. "I deserve to know how I'm being framed," she said quietly. I won't run, I won't hide, but I deserve to know what story is being written about me." She opened the door, stepped out into the rain, and walked away. I sat, soaked in confusion, and something that felt dangerously close to admiration. That night I opened a private audio file on my phone, separate from work. "This case is not like the others," I whispered into the darkness. I saved it, closed my laptop, tried to sleep. Over the next 3 days, Serena orchestrated small accidents. The cafe again. She chose the table next to mine, asked if I didn't have an office to work from. The clinic lobby. She passed by, gave me a slight nod like we were acquaintances. The park bench. She sat closer to where I'd parked than usual. In each encounter we talked about safe things. Weather, city traffic, her foundation's upcoming fundraiser. But underneath, there were currents. She asked if it was hard, watching other people's lives all day. I admitted sometimes it was. "Do you ever wonder," she said softly, "what it's like to be the person in the file?" I did now. I started choosing what to photograph, what to include, what to let pass. One afternoon I watched her wipe tears away in her car before driving home. I took the photo. Then, before the app could upload it, I deleted it. I thought it was gone. That night I filled out Marcus's report. Routine, predictable, nothing to worry about. I hit send. Then I opened my private recording and whispered, "I'm lying, but I'm not sure who I'm lying for anymore." Saturday I spent with my sister Nadia and her 7-year-old son. Pancakes, video games, normal life. But I kept checking my phone. "You're distracted," Nadia said, loading the dishwasher. "Big case. Is it complicated, or are you making it complicated?" I didn't answer. She dried her hands, leaned against the counter. "Ethan, don't fall for someone you're supposed to be watching. You always go too soft when feelings get involved." "I'm not." "You are." She touched my shoulder. "Just be careful who you trust, and be honest with yourself." That afternoon, I drove past the Morrow house anyway. Mrs. Green was gardening. I stopped, chatted, planted a story about consulting on neighborhood security. That evening I watched Serena cook alone through the lit kitchen window, humming to herself, pouring wine, waiting. Marcus didn't come home until after 10. When he did, he walked straight to his office without stopping in the kitchen. My phone buzzed. Marcus. "Reports look thin. Dig deeper. She's hiding something." I stared at the text, feeling pressure from both sides. Luis told me to be bold. Marcus's schedule showed a dinner without Serena. Her calendar showed a downtown board meeting, a window, an opportunity. I sat in my car that evening, watching their empty driveway. I told myself I wouldn't. Then I grabbed my camera and got out. The side door off the kitchen was unlocked. I slipped inside. The house was silent. Cool marble under my shoes, everything spotless, expensive, empty. I moved through the kitchen into her home office. Calendars, notebooks, therapy texts, financial documents showing she'd been quietly funding a women's shelter without telling Marcus. I took photos, hands shaking. Then I heard the front door open. Footsteps, the soft clink of her bangles, heels on tile. Serena appeared in the doorway. She flipped on a lamp. We stared at each other. "You're not supposed to be here," she said quietly. My mouth went dry. Marcus wanted..." She stepped closer, eyes searching mine. Then, with a bitter little smile, she said, "So arrest me. Or kiss me." It hung in the air between us, half taunt, half test. I lowered the camera. We stood inches apart, close enough to feel the heat of her, to smell jasmine and something underneath. Something real. "Easier to joke than ask why you cared enough to delete some of those images," she said, voice softer now. vulnerable. Before I could respond, the lights flickered, then died completely. Storm outside. In the sudden darkness, she inhaled sharply. Her hand found my arm, steadying herself. "We need to find the breaker," she whispered. We moved through the dark hallway together, guided by phone flashlights and our own uncertain breathing. The kitchen was half lit by the generator's hum. Rain hammered the windows. Shadows moved across the marble like something alive. We stood by the counter, phone lights casting small halos around us. "Tell me what you've reported," Serena said. Not angry, just tired. I hesitated. "The park bench," she pressed. "When I cried in my car, what did you tell Marcus?" "I left some things out." "Why?" "Because they felt private. Because putting them in a file felt wrong." She studied my face in the dim light. "You edited me." I tried to be fair. "Fair." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You had power over my story, Ethan, and you made choices about which version of me existed on paper." "I know." The silence stretched. Then, slowly, she stepped closer. Close enough that I could feel her breath, see the exhaustion in her eyes, smell jasmine and rain. For a moment I thought she might kiss me. Instead, she rested her forehead against my chest. Just that. Nothing more. My hand hovered near her back but never touched. We stood like that, breathing in sync, while the storm raged outside. After a long moment, she pulled back, composed again, the wall rebuilding itself. She moved to a kitchen drawer, retrieved a thick envelope, and offered it to me. "This isn't a bribe," she said. "It's a request. Tell the truth. The whole truth, not just Marcus's version of me. Dr. Morrow, Serena. Serena, I don't want to be paid to lie. I'm not asking you to lie. I'm asking you not to edit me out of my own story." She pressed the envelope into my hands. "Include Marcus's absences, his dismissiveness, the work I do that he never asks about. Give him the full picture, not just the parts that confirm what he already believes." I took it. The weight felt significant. "You're asking me to betray my client." "I'm asking you to tell the truth. There's a difference." Around midnight, after the storm calmed and the light stabilized, she walked me to the side door. We stood there, both aware we'd crossed invisible lines. Not physically, but in every other way that mattered. "Good night, Ethan," she said softly. I stepped into the damp night, envelope in my jacket. From my car, I watched her lock the door, lean her forehead against it briefly, then walk away into the house. I drove home with my heart still pounding. The envelope sat unopened on my kitchen table until morning. For the next week, we fell into a quiet routine. Short conversations at the cafe about her foundation work. My vague stories about consulting. Shared cigarettes in the clinic parking garage. She didn't really smoke, but she'd take a drag or two, more for the rebellion than anything else. Late-night texts from a number she said was a work phone. Photos of articles about loneliness in marriage. Jokes about neighborhood gossip. I kept filing reports to Marcus, each one thinner than the last. Subject maintains consistent schedule. No evidence of infidelity. Strong commitment to charitable work. I was protecting her. I knew it. I just didn't want to admit it. Nadia noticed during a family dinner. Her son asked if I had a girlfriend. I stumbled over the answer. Nadia raised an eyebrow but didn't push. One evening I stayed late at the office, checking my uploads. The system showed everything I'd sent, but I noticed a menu option I'd never clicked. Shadow backup, auto-sync all media. I didn't understand it fully. Shrugged it off. Marcus texted, "Need to catch up in person soon." The walls were closing in, A few days later, Marcus invited me to another charity event. Extra security, he said. Museum this time, dim exhibits, echoing halls. I wore my suit again, feeling less out of place than before. Serena moved through the crowd effortlessly, greeting donors, handling a mini-crisis when a catering tray broke, graceful under pressure. In a side hallway, we passed each other alone. She smiled. Here is a donor or a spy? Depends who you ask. Our shoulders brushed, just barely. The friction was electric. Mrs. Green was there volunteering, handing out programs. She spotted us in that hallway. I saw her eyes track the moment, filing it away. Later, Marcus drank too much, laughing loud with business partners and a younger woman who leaned in close. Serena noticed. Her jaw tightened. Across the room, our eyes met. We didn't need words. That night, I uploaded photos carefully, omitting anything that could be misinterpreted, deleting the hallway moment entirely. I thought I was protecting her. I hit upload and went home, believing I'd done the right thing. The next morning, Luis called me in early. His face was serious. We have a problem. He showed me an email from Marcus. Attached were photos I'd never sent. Serena alone late at night. Serena with me in the hallway, caught by a security camera angle. Serena looking upset in her car. Images I thought I'd deleted. The shadow backup, Luis explained. It syncs everything, all media, even deleted files. Marcus's IT guy requested full access. I had to comply. My stomach dropped. Marcus joined via video call. Cold. Victorious. Mr. Cole, care to explain why you've been withholding information? I tried to explain context, that the photos didn't show what he thought. He didn't care. I'm paying for facts, not your editorial judgment. Luis tried to smooth things over, distancing the company from my judgment calls. I felt thrown under the bus. As soon as the call ended, I grabbed my keys and ran. I found Serena leaving the hospital wing of her clinic complex. Serena. She stopped, didn't smile. In the dim parking garage, I explained everything. The auto backup. Marcus seeing images I'd tried to hide. She listened, face carefully blank. When I admitted I'd edited reports because I felt protective, something cracked in her composure. Not tears, anger, cold, contained, devastating. You of all people should know what a file can do, she said quietly. I was trying to help. You had power over my story and you lost control of it. Her voice shook. I'm not sure what hurts more. That Marcus is using this against me, or that you thought half-truths were protecting me. Serena, I need space. She got in her car. I knocked on her window once. She didn't roll it down. She drove away without looking back. That night, I sat in the dark, phone in hand. I typed a long apology, deleted it. Finally sent, I'm sorry. If you want the full file, it's yours. Delivered. Not read. My screen went black. In the 2 weeks after the garage, I turned into a ghost on my own street. I still worked small cases, background checks, digital research, but my focus was fractured. I drove past the Morrow house more than I should. Purely on my own time now. New patterns emerged. Marcus's car there more often. Serena's SUV gone some evenings. One day I saw a moving truck and panic seized me. Mrs. Green told me calmly they were just redecorating. But she added, quieter, Serena's been staying downtown more. Trial separation. Distance. Something breaking. At work, Luis informed me Marcus had closed the case, but left a negative note about my subjectivity. I was kept on. Given smaller assignments. My confidence took a hit. One night at Nadia's, over takeout, she asked point blank, "Did you fall for someone married?" I didn't deny it. Wanting connection doesn't make you evil, she said, but crossing certain lines does. You need to figure out which side you're on. I drove home late and decided to stop circling the Morrow neighborhood. For a while. The following week I tried to build new routines, background checks instead of surveillance, more time with my nephew, the gym once or twice. But Serena's presence lingered. A stranger's jasmine perfume on the sidewalk. A news clip showing her foundation's fundraiser. She looked composed. Ring still on. Smile thinner. I almost went to therapy. Pulled up a list of local therapists. Avoided Serena's clinic on purpose. I walked into a building for a consultation. Sat in the lobby. Then left before they called my name. That night I scrolled through old case photos and voice notes. Deleted some. Moved others to a private folder. Before sleep, I turned my phone face down for the first time in weeks, trying to turn the page. At 2:14 a.m., the phone buzzed. I jerked awake, squinting at the bright screen. Unknown number. One image. The staff-only door from the museum hallway, where our shoulders had brushed. Caption: You're still not supposed to be here. My entire body woke up. I knew instantly. Serena. A minute later, gallery on 5th. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. If you want the rest of the story, not a demand, an invitation. I lay back, staring at the ceiling, phone clutched in my hand. After all the stakeouts and surveillance, this was the first time she'd called me out of hiding. I typed, "I'll be there." The read indicator appeared. The next day crawled. At 8 p.m. sharp, I arrived at the gallery on 5th. Mostly empty. Exhibition just closed. Blank walls and lingering pieces. Serena sat on the floor in one of the main rooms, back against a pillar. Jeans, sweatshirt, hair loose, no makeup. More herself than I'd ever seen her. She laughed softly at how awkward this was. We walked slowly through the gallery, talking about Fallout. Marcus had seen everything, used it as leverage. They'd tried counseling. She'd taken space in a downtown suite. She was reevaluating everything. She didn't say, "We're divorced," or "We're fine." Just that it was complicated. Ongoing. I admitted my guilt. How protective feelings blurred my judgment. We talked like adults, not characters in a fantasy, tension, but also accountability. In front of a blank white wall, we stopped. Silence stretched. Serena stepped closer, searching my face. Then she reached for my hand. Our fingers interlaced, warm, tentative. She kissed me once. Slow, soft. No escalation, full of everything unsaid. Anger, longing, regret, curiosity. My hand touched her waist lightly but didn't roam. When we parted, we rested foreheads together, breathing unevenly. "This doesn't mean I'm leaving Marcus for you," she said plainly. "Or that we're starting something. I know. I needed to know what it felt like once, without secrecy, without you hiding in my driveway." She pulled back slightly. An honest moment in an honest room. We set boundaries. He wouldn't follow her anymore. For any reason. She wouldn't use him as an escape. She'd focus on therapy, her foundation, whatever shape her marriage took. He'd focus on healthier work. A better inner life. Outside the gallery, soft drizzle falling, we said goodbye. Serena got in her car, paused at the end of the block, then drove away. I watched the taillights disappear into the city, turned up my collar, walked to my car, feeling both lighter and sadder. Over the next 3 weeks, I built a new normal. Background checks, digital research, less in-person surveillance. I organized finances, spent weekends with Nadia and her son, actually went to the gym. I saw Serena's name in the news occasionally. Her foundation partnering with a shelter. A mental health panel. She still wore her ring in public. One morning at my usual cafe, I found a jasmine-scented scarf folded over the chair across from me. No note, no one around, but I knew she'd been there minutes before. That evening, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. A photo. The Morrow House. Porch light on in early evening. No text, just the image. She was there. She was okay. She was thinking of me. Without demanding anything. I saved the photo, then deliberately put my phone face down. Poured water. Looked out my own window at my own quiet street. Let myself breathe. In the months that followed, the pattern continued. Early morning runs, passing houses with porch lights, thinking of one specific house. Late-night texts from that same unknown number. A picture of the park bench, the museum staircase, city lights from a balcony. She never added words, didn't need to. Sometimes I replied, "Got it." Sometimes I didn't reply at all, respecting the distance. I declined a high-paying surveillance case, another unhappy marriage, long-term watching. I couldn't go back to that work the same way. I leaned into corporate due diligence instead. Work that didn't involve peering into bedrooms. I never asked Serena for more than she gave. Never showed up uninvited to her events. Our connection settled into something quiet. Occasional proof-of-life images, shared spaces visited at different times, a scarf left behind, a porch light turned on. One late morning, I sat at my regular cafe table, empty chair opposite me, the jasmine-scented scarf folded neatly beside my coffee. The bell over the door rang softly. I looked up. Maybe I was never supposed to be in her world. But some people you meet once and end up watching for the rest of your life, even if all you're allowed to do is keep the porch light in your mind. I smiled. Small. Private. The door closed. The chair stayed empty. And somehow, that was enough. Doors don't close, they just wait.